welcome to another podcast that I made. This one's called Cringy, and it's because I feel very cringy in everything I do in life, and I want to be on top of the joke instead, so I'm calling myself cringy so no one else can, and that's it. Welcome, Keenan, to the podcast.
Thank you.
Cringy.
Thank you.
I'm happy to have you here.
I'm happy to be here. I'm excited to be a part of this. This feels very fancy and official.
It feels way too fancy and official. Like a scary amount. I can say it on this podcast. I just had someone and she's like, this feels like it should be like a sex podcast. Like the layout. And I was like, I mean, it is like white leather couches and like a red shag carpet. Like, yeah, this actually is a good spot for a sex podcast. But I don't want to get into that. Not yet. We don't need to be there. Really, I just wanted to have you as my first human because I love you. And I feel like we can just speak so easily with each other. And that's it. I just feel comfy around you, I guess, is really the moral of the story. Because I'm like, I'm doing something scary, so I want something less scary, which is you, which is so funny to me. I don't know if we've had these conversations, but like we met when? 2015?
2015, yeah.
20
10 years.
Happy 10 years. Keenan. Oh my gosh.
Isn't that crazy to think, though, that was 10 years ago?
That I didn't think about that until right now.
Like, I still think about 10 years ago being like, it's like, oh, I was like 15 or 16. And it's like, no, I was 21.
Oh my God, I was a baby. I was freaking 19 years old. I remember, and I was like the baby of the group because you guys were all like old.
Yeah.
When we were.
Were you 98?
I'm 96.
Oh, 96.
96. So, yeah, but that was my second year of university. I was like, I want to go study abroad in Italy because I don't know what I want to do with my life, but I love Italy. And then I went, and you were there with your friend, but you went with friends.
No, I didn't know
I thought
anybody.
You knew them.
I didn't know any of those people before we went to Italy.
Really?
I met everybody. I mean, we met like very briefly in that little pre-trip thing, and I talked to like 2 people. And then I was actually supposed to meet up with. Am I allowed to like say other people's names?
Yeah, I don't care. I don't
Like-
think there's rules. If they want to complain, they can.
I'm so used to being like, I don't know.
I can't say.
I can't
someone's
say
name.
anything.
Okay.
I was supposed to meet up with Vince in Rome before we got to Cortona.
Did you know Vince?
Well, no, he had just kind of messaged me on Facebook because we were going to be rooming together.
Oh, that's so cute.
And a few people ended up meeting up in Rome before we got there, but I ended up going to Cortona early and had like that crazy experience in the haunted convent.
What? I feel like I'm like that sounds familiar, but I feel like I didn't fully get it, and I want to hear the whole story. And I also want to add that you are, but like were like not the person I would typically not be friends with, but like you were like the cool person. You're the cool guy who has the friends and is like cool and sporty. And I'm like this little insecure person who went to Italy by herself and is like staying alone in a hotel. And I'm just like, hi, how's it going? And like at that point, if I could say like, hey, who do you think you're still going to be friends with 10 years later? I love that it's us. I mean, and Sydney. But I love that perhaps, we weren't even buddy at that point. We came from different worlds, but it's still like, look at us.
Yeah,
Love
and
it.
I feel like I kind of got like it was kind of funny going into the Cortona situation because everybody kind of said that. And like I don't know if you remember how hard I got roasted about asking if there was a gym.
I was just gonna say my earliest memory of you is at the information session, and you raised your hand and said, "Is there a gym on the remote mountain in Italy?" And they're like, no, but it's on a mountain, so you just go up and down the mountain."
Yeah. Well, and because like it was funny in that way because it was like I was almost like the outsider just because everybody kept saying that. Like
I'm
everyone was like, oh,
sorry.
like we didn't think we'd be friends with you because you're just like the douche who asked about a gym.
Oh,
And
now I feel bad for saying
no,
that.
I mean, it was
I'm
just,
sorry.
that whole trip, that whole experience. Like, I mean, like several of you guys, like Vince, Sydney. I mean, a few people that I don't stay in touch with as much, but like, still have like kind of regular contact. Like I still talk to several people from that trip, like on a pretty regular basis. And almost all of them are people who like maybe wouldn't have fit into like my cookie cutter, like, oh, we have so much in common prima facie. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like Vince is, like unequivocally one of my closest friends.
Hmm.
And I mean, we didn't have a lot in common on like, kind of face value, but the more we've got to know each other, it's like we have lots in common, like we get along so well. Cause he always used to say the same thing, like, just like kind of stereotypical, like jock,
But I hope you
whatever.
I also want to put that comes from like my own insecurity of I've always been like the fat kid, so I wasn't included in sports. Guys didn't like me. So when a beautiful man, Keenan, shows up, I'm like, oh yeah, this person's gonna hate me. They're gonna think nothing of me. That came from a place of like my own insecurity. And I mean, we're all projecting it on you, like, look at the jock. But it comes from a place of like deep insecurity
Well,
on my part.
like it really, like for me, it helped me break down like that insecurity as well, just because like, especially, like coming, I guess, from more of that, like, just like, being super involved in like sports at a high level and everything. Like, we didn't, like, you weren't really vulnerable around a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so coming into a group where like everybody was like, not to sound super cheesy, but like kind of celebrating vulnerability with each
Mhm.
other and like, all just like kind of existing in this space of like, this is not real life. Like we are on a mountaintop in Italy, like drinking wine every single day. Like we were in school, but those classes were like, it was so easy, like not in a bad way, but you're just
A
like
beautiful way. My
a beautiful
gosh.
way, like,
Yeah.
and even though we were learning about subjects that like if you were in like the basement, of the arts building in Edmonton, you'd be like, kill me. It's like you're learning about it in the ruins of like an ancient society. Like you're not reading
Yes.
classical text. You're walking around with like the most amazing tour guide in the world.
God.
So you're so interested and captivated by everything you're learning. So just like no part of it was like sustainable, like after leaving,
Yeah.
like including the group dynamics of just like,
Yeah.
it's like, let's all like drink wine and trauma dump on each other for like 6 hours every night. Like I cried, like, I think like our first or second night, like, and Julian like puts his arm around me and, it's like, oh, I don't have this at home. Like that kind of support
Oh.
system. So it was so cool, but also like, I mean, just you're like, I wish I had that every day. I would be so much less stressed, but
See, and I'm almost like jealous of that too, because I stayed in a hotel in like a separate area. So I was by myself because I stayed in Italy for like a full year. So
yeah.
I was like, okay, in order for me to like not die, I think I need to be alone, have my space. But then I accidentally missed out on all this bonding time of people living together and being together like 24/7 for 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed out on that, which kind of
Well,
sucks.
and like I totally understand. Like I was very close to doing the hotel thing because I felt the exact same way. And like I had lived by myself in my first year of my second year of university. And then my third year university, I lived with a really good friend, but he worked in oil and gas. So I mean he was gone for like 12
Mm.
hours a day and like weekends and stuff. Like, so I was like very like, I don't know how I'm gonna do living in bunk beds. But honestly, it was like a cost difference, the hotel. So I was like, well, I guess I'm roughing it in the hostel. And it ended up being like the best thing that ever happened to me. So
No, it's beautiful.
it was, but again, I'm like thinking back to it. It's like throw me in a hostel with like 2 other people in my bedroom and like, whatever, I think 12 of us lived together.
Oh my
Or no, 11 of us, because there's 14 of us on the trip and 3 of you guys were in the hotel.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, okay.
So, 11 of us living like as far apart as you and I are now. I'm like I live alone now and I'm not like, oh, can't wait to get a roommate.
Yeah. Oh, see, now there's a part of me, I'm like, oh, maybe I would have like stayed in contact with people or like formed those relationships where even like Cortona was such a beautiful time for me. I feel like I didn't connect with people the same way. Maybe that's another thing. I'm like, hey, look, we're connected because yeah, I kind of like traveled alone. I kept more to myself.
Well, and like
I don't know.
to your credit, I think you branched out into like the world outside of that hostel in a way that a lot of us didn't. Like you like went to like live performances and like met Italian people. Like I had like kind of my little Italian family at that one restaurant, but like most of us outside of that, like we didn't hang out with anybody but each other, and we didn't go out ever. Like we spent every night in the hostel, and part of that's because they locked us out at midnight
I
or
forgot.
whatever it was, But I mean, there's ways around that. People from other years were tying bed sheets together and scaling the walls.
Were they actually?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah. But like we all moved to Italy and then like stayed in one little house together the whole time with the people from Edmonton. Like,
Yeah. People that we didn't know, but then that is so beautiful. And you're right, like you're bonding over this experience that you can't explain to people. I mean, you could try, but like imagine, oh yeah, we all lived in Italy and we all drank wine and we had this. It's like, okay, that's cool. But to experience that alongside other people, like I can say, like, oh yeah, Cortona and this, and you know exactly that feeling that that brings, or like, oh, that little coffee shop, we'd go get the cornettos and have our like, cafe lattes. Like other people, that's the sad thing for me is when I'm out in the world, I'm like, okay, there's this part of me that you can't express to other people or like Bright, my partner, unless I really bring him to the mountaintop. I'm like, look, this is where I lived. Like he doesn't get that. I mean, there's lots of things in life like that, but it's really, I don't know, it's really special to have.
You like understand, like there's all these memes about like, it's like, oh, how's your sandwich? It's like, I had a sandwich in Italy once, and it's like that was us, and it like is us in many ways. Like, like I find myself so often in conversations where it's like I'm trying to relate an experience back of like when I lived in Italy, and I'm like, that must be. It's like, yeah, we get it, but you're like, it's like it's one of the most like formative experiences of your life. Like, it changed the trajectory of my life in like a drastic way, and like it changed the way I relate to people and like look at people, and appreciate people. So I'm always just like, yeah, like you remember being in Italy? It's like, yeah, like that's all. I think about it every day.
Like I swear, like the year after, like that was the only thing that came out of my mouth. I'm like, I am so obnoxious.
Yeah.
But like
every time we drink, we would still do our like horrendous Italian accents because none of us could speak Italian, but we'd get drunk and think we could. And it was just like a lot of, and we did that for like 2 years afterwards. Everybody, I remember like a bunch of people came over. I think you might have been there. And we all just like got in my queen bed and watched Under the Tuscan Sun because we just wanted to see like the square of Cortona in a fountain that wasn't even there, like in real life.
Fake ass fountain.
And I'm like, that movie wasn't even that good. I just wanted to feel close to Cortona again.
Yeah, I love it just because I'm like, oh, we actually lived there. And
yeah.
So what happened for you on that trip? Like I think for myself, yeah, it was more like an individual thing. I don't know. But for you, it sounds like it was massively transformative. Like what I want to know, because especially because I wasn't really there with you. Like, yeah, like we didn't really talk or hang out in Italy, which is also the funny thing. So I didn't get to like be on that journey with you of seeing that in you or having those conversations.
Yeah, and I mean, not all of it was like stuff I was aware of at the time, but like for me, like I had struggled a lot like with my mental health.
Did you know that?
On a like more like I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, I was definitely not okay. I think at the time I didn't necessarily realize like what I was going through or how serious what I was going through. And I was still at a point in my life where I was like really trying to like point at external factors for like all of my feelings and emotions and stuff, going like, well,
It's not me, it's that
yeah,
thing.
like if this wasn't happening, I would be fine. And I mean, as there's aspects of that were
Mhm.
probably true. But at the same time, like I didn't understand, like severe depression, severe anxiety, all the external pressures I had put on like where I should be and what I should be doing, like educationally and stuff. And, for like Cortona, like again, just because like meeting people who were very open and very supportive and like, again, like just sort of celebrated those vulnerabilities, like in a way where it's like you never felt like you were burdening someone. You like wanted to be a part of the conversation. So like that was for me like kind of like the first steps really into like addressing my mental health like inward, and like really just like the first time I was able to like really recognize how much I was struggling, and it
Mm.
was because other people like gave me space to do that. um
Wow.
so and again, like those friendships were, just so like transformative in a way, because it was like I had a male best friend, who like I'd give him a big hug at the end of the day, or it's like, I'd tell him I loved him, or we'd like
Mhm.
talk about those struggles. And it's not that I had never had friends that close, but they were fewer and farther between, and you always like were holding back in a certain sense, because you're like, I got to be like a big, strong, tough dude who plays football.
Mhm.
Like I'm not allowed, or it's like I got to be like, I got to be the guy who like comes off as a genius in class versus like
Mhm.
going like I have no idea what's going on, and like I'm super uncomfortable with that. Like jumping,
Yeah.
just even because I mean that was my third year university, so I it wasn't like brand new, but like that transition from high school to university where you go like, oh, like I don't have any idea what that guy's talking about, you know,
Mhm.
um, like that was something that I super struggled with, um, and just like never really wanted to address or like talk about out loud kind of thing, so
See, I felt that in Italy. I felt everyone was so I mean, you guys were also a little bit older than me, but you guys were, like, having all these deep conversations and political stuff, and we were, like, in the political science class, and then I was just like, "Oh, mhm, yep, same." Like, I was just, I don't know, really admired that, but also felt so self-conscious. So, I mean, it's interesting what we see on the outside, but as you said, maybe that was part of you needing that at I feel like everyone there was also like that.
that's the thing. It was like a whole bunch of like super broken,
Yeah.
like very insecure people who are like I'm gonna go to Italy and like go on that adventure or whatever.
I guess that's true. Like, what kind of a person you have to be like, I want to stop and go to a country and fuck around a bit and maybe, and yeah, take some classes, but does it go fully to your degree? And did yours
Yeah,
go
and with
fully?
the
What degree were you? Were political
political
science?
science, yeah. And like with the exception of like the one small group of three, we all, and I guess Sydney and Alexa, but like pretty much everybody went by themselves. Like
Yeah,
we all basically went on our own. And we also lucked out that we had one of the smallest groups ever.
it was,
Like
wasn't it?
well, there's 14 of us, and I mean, really, like, yeah, I mean, two of those people didn't really spend any time with the group, and then you'd kind of come and go.
Yeah.
You were just so
I was a
not you were so
floater.
Italian. You're so nonchalant, like show up, didn't show up.
Yes.
We're like, hey, we're all going to Venice this weekend, and you're like, I got a date at the Lions Club,
Oh my
so
God. Yeah.
you
Good for
know
you for remembering that.
um but yeah, and again, it's like we all like created this little bubble inside the hostel, and it's like it's hilarious to think about. Like we all went to another country, like across the ocean, to create like a little bubble in that hostel that we so rarely ventured outside of. But yeah, I mean, we were all just like doing that like soul search in Italy, like, you know, Eat, Pray, Love style. I've actually never seen that movie.
I've never seen it either.
I assume that's what
I
she's
know
doing.
that's what people say, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, I have a crisis. You go and you find it. You go, yeah.
Yeah, it's like we were all kind of going through like our mid-degree crisis. But that's what made it so great, you know?
I'm also thinking about your relationship with, Mickey and Massimo.
Mickey,
I was
Massimo.
gonna say, like, do not tell me I forgot their names. Mickey and Massimo. Do you talk to them?
Yeah.
Is Massimo alive?
Massimo's alive.
Holy shit.
Yeah. He's showing his age.
How old is he?
I honestly don't know. He would never tell me his real age when we were there. So, I mean, he's got to be in his 80s.
Do you talk to them still?
Yeah.
How are they?
I mean, they're doing great. They're still running their restaurant and stuff. And
How did that start? So look, we all went to this restaurant, this local restaurant. We go eat there, hang out there. And you just became so close. You were like their child.
yeah, they often said that.
Like-
And I mean, part of that, because I went to Cortona alone.
Yeah.
For the first few days.
Oh,
I had
right.
actually, so I took my mom with me when I first went to Italy, because it was something like that I had, told her we'd do when I was like 5 years old and found out there were canals in Venice, right? So it's like, well, I'm moving to Italy, like, on your dime mostly. So like, come with me for, I think we did a week. Maybe we did 2 weeks.
Did you tour
No,
around
we did
Italy?
2 weeks.
And
Yeah.
then-
So we did a week in Sicily. So we flew, like we started in Sicily.
What a wild place to start.
I mean, it's God's kitchen, right?
I mean, it's great, but people go like Rome, Florence,
And so,
Venice. You're like, I'm gonna go just Sicily.
well, basically we kind of did like a tropical vacation
Aw.
in Taormina, which is just up from Catalonia, I want to say.
I don't know.
But also like the top of a mountain, basically in Sicily, at the foothills of Mount Etna, which actually erupted just very shortly after we were there. Well, we were in Cortona when it was erupting, but so we did a week there, and then we did the kind of like, Rome, Florence.
Okay, so you did the tourist.
Took her to Cortona so she could see where I'd be living, and we had eaten at Mickey and Massimo's a couple times, I think. And then I went back to Cortona a couple days early. Can you cut out me burping?
Maybe. This is the cringy podcast. No. Keep going.
So I was there on my own, and I ended up like just kind of stranded. I couldn't get into my hostel.
Yeah, why?
Well, basically, so I had booked a hotel for my first night.
The hotel, or is there a different
Like
hotel?
a different hotel.
Okay.
The guy's name was also Massimo, and he was awesome. But so I stayed my first night. I had eaten supper that night at Mickey Massimo's, and I actually met like this total cougar named Vera Lynn.
Why do you still remember that?
I don't know.
It's in there forever. Okay.
But we sat at Mickey Massimo's like at the bar until like 2 a.m. Basically, like,
did you go home with her?
no, I wish.
Wow, that would be a good story.
I know, and that the whole night,
Yeah.
that's what I was like. That's where this is going, right? And then it's not what happened. But
Next time.
so we sat there all night with Mickey Massimo at the bar. So it's like, I mean, you know how it is in like a little Italian restaurant. It's like they're basically hanging out with us.
Yeah, there's nowhere else to go.
Yeah, and so I was supposed to stay at the hostel, like our hostel,
Right.
for the next night. And so I go up to the hostel in the morning, like with all my bags for like a half a year in Italy.
Did you walk up the hill with
Oh,
all your-
yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And it was raining, so it's like it's just like straight out of a movie. I don't speak a lick of Italian. I didn't buy a phone plan because I specifically didn't want to be accessible. And there's just a note on the door in Italian that's like, go up the road. And I was like, some other.
Did you understand it?
Well, I could read the title of where I was supposed to go.
Oh, okay,
That's about
okay.
it.
Okay.
So like, I mean, I walk up the road and like there's no one there. There's no one at this door. So I mean, this is like, I don't know, 11 a.m. Say, I don't know. It's morning because I had to get out of the other guy's place.
So maybe they're taking a nap.
Yeah. So I walk back down the hill. I'm standing in an alleyway in the rain with all my luggage, and I'm like, I don't really know like what I should do in this moment. The Massimo from the first night hotel, he's like, oh, like, are you okay? And I was like, well, I'm like, I don't know where to go or what to do with my luggage. And he's like, well, you can put the luggage back at the hotel. So I'm like, oh, okay, sweet. So then I went to Mickey Massimo's and I hung out there for like, I don't know, a couple hours, had lunch, went and read an entire book in the gardens in Cortona, like, you know, that big long thing. Try to go back to the hostel. There's nobody there. So then I'm like trying to get data so I can call Helena and be like, what is going on with this hostel? Finally get a hold of her through email. No, wait, I think I'm screwing that up. That's the next part of the story, actually. I did finally get into the hotel though. And it's this little nun who is like 75 pounds, 4.5 feet tall. Like she's like this tall. And I'm like, is this where I'm supposed to be? And she doesn't speak any English whatsoever. I don't speak any Italian. She takes me up to this little room. It's like a little single cot with a great big 4-foot tall crucifix hanging above it. And it's like, well, I guess this is where I'm staying tonight. There's no Wi-Fi either, like, you know, because it's like this convent. So I ended up, this is where the ghost story happens. It's like I have a nap in this little bed, and then I opened the door to like go for dinner, and it's like pitch black in this convent. I can't like, and I'm talking like pitch black. And I'm like, this is so creepy already. And so I'm like trying to get my way through this place. I could see a nun's ghost in the corner.
Do you not have like your phone with you? It's like a flash.
It didn't occur to me at the moment.
Okay. Just checking.
And so then I went back to Mickey Massimo's for like 6 hours because I didn't want to go back to that place because it was so weird. So I just hung out with Mickey Massimo's. So like by the time everyone else got there, we were like already tight, basically. And then I went there every single day, like with or without you guys, basically just to check in, and I'd like help him do dishes, or like Massimo would show me how to cook something.
That's so sweet.
Yeah. But it was the next day, just to cap off the story. You guys ended up stuck in traffic for like 6 hours.
I forgot about that.
So I was
Coming
supposed
from Rome.
Yeah. So I was supposed to meet you guys at the hostel at like whatever, 4 o'clock. So I'm walking around Cortona yet again with all my bags. Finally get a hold of Helena through email, and she's like, everyone's delayed. So again, I just kind of hung out at Mickey Massimo's, like walking around Cortona, pop in, have a pretzel and a coffee. So, and then you guys finally got there like that night. And I was already honestly like pretty liquored by the time you guys got there, which worked because it was like all the social anxiety was gone.
Oh,
and then I took you guys to Mickey Massimo's that night.
Aw, so you're the reason why we met them. That's beautiful. What a beautiful story. I mean, it's hilarious.
It's so funny.
I can picture just like you on the top of the mountain with all your bags.
Yeah, I mean,
Aw.
even at the time I was like, well, this is gonna be a good story. I hope somebody shows up.
Wait, how'd you get to the nun place? Why were you there?
So
Why did that
was
happen?
it Marco, our Ostello and hotel guy?
Hotel guy. Wow, I'm the worst. Is his name Marco? Let's pretend it's Marco.
Let's pretend is that stereotyping?
No, because it might be Marco.
He left a note on the door to like go up to this convent thing. And then I just gave the nun like some cash and was like, I don't know. I hope this is where I'm supposed to be.
She was just like, this is fine.
Yeah.
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 Who was the guy that babysat us after supper. Was he also Massimo?
I was just gonna say, I think his name was Massimo.
I was like, I don't know. I don't want to say that and be stupid in case it wasn't.
I think that might have been Massimo.
And the whole time he was like, oh, no English, no English.
But he like
that
spoke
man
English.
spoke English. I didn't know until the second term I was there. And one of my friends like slept with him.
Know.
And she's like, yeah, he spoke perfect English. I'm like, this whole time, this man has been pretending to not speak English.
He was like an old Italian man who just sat in the corner and listened to us have the most absurd, like, in many cases, wildly inappropriate, hypersexual conversations. Like, I'm sure he saw some titties for sure.
And I guess that's the best thing is if they think, oh, that man in the corner doesn't speak English. You can't understand it.
He had to wait until 12 when they locked us into the hostel.
I forgot they also locked you in.
Yeah. Well, that's because every time you guys from the hotel always had to make a decision if you were like staying the night or not. That's why you guys never ended up there super late because you couldn't get out either. Like it wasn't just that you couldn't get back in; you couldn't get out. Which, like, I mean, I'm sure the fire regulations were not great.
It doesn't even exist in Italy. I was telling Bray, I think like 2 days ago, about stop signs in Italy, and I was like, they're just like a suggestion. You know, like you're like, you see it, but you can think about it. Also, like police. I was like, I'm gonna be screaming when we were driving there, but I'm like, I don't think the police will pull you over though. And he's like, really? I'm like, no, they're probably just like having a coffee. You just I was like, what do the police do in Italy?
Yeah.
Like, do they do anything? I was like, but that's so Italy.
And then like the police in Milan all drive like Lamborghinis, and the police in like Florence, you're like, does he have shoes on? Like the difference was crazy.
Oh my gosh. Did you love Italy before that? Or was
did.
that kind of like, you're like, holy shit, these are my people, these crazy people.
I didn't really know much about the culture at all. It was truly finding out that Venice had water streets when I was a kid that I was like, I must go to Italy. Like, I simply must see this. And then obviously getting into political science and stuff, the history was like, I mean, like my whole first year of like political science was all like, you know, Machiavelli and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So, and like the whole Roman culture, like I always loved the Roman documentaries growing up too. So there was just like a lot of that.
People been like the Roman Empire. Have you heard? I don't know if you use the internet. People are like, oh yeah, my boyfriend like always thinks about the Roman Empire.
I had people reach out to me that I haven't talked to in a long time and like ask me. And I was like, yeah, it's true.
Like, how often do you think about the Roman Empire?
Like yeah, like probably daily.
No, not daily.
Maybe weekly. I also work in a space that is very like dominated by politics and all that kind of stuff too. So there's a lot of like analogous.
Like, what do you?
Plus, I really like all the Roman TV shows, like Rome on HBO. So good.
Have not seen it, but I heard people saying, I'm like, no, that's not real. Like the Roman, like that's so specific and random and not.
I think it's real.
Oh my! Well, thank you for proving that. Did you like Venice? Venice stinks.
No,
it smells bad.
That's what everyone told me. They were like, you're going to be so disappointed. Like Venice is so dirty and gross and underwhelming. And it was like stunning and immaculate. And it was not stinky at all. The only like tiniest little complaint I could have is that San Marco, that's the one, right? That's the cathedral.
Yeah, like San Marco,
like San Marco Square.
Piazza San Marco or something like that. Yeah.
It was being refurbished on the outside, so it was like covered in scaffolding.
Yeah. Okay, fine. I won't be such a bitch about Venice.
Cafe di Fiore, like the super famous cafe in Venice.
No, missed it. It was so touristy. I think that's my.
But even that, like we went.
Did you go to a random nightclub? Was I there where we
we
walked for a
did.
very like
And it was like the
hour or
size of this
two?
carpet.
Yes. Was it you leading the pack?
No,
I swear someone was leading the pack and we're like walking for hours
it was Nick.
in this random like residential area of Venice looking for this random nightclub.
Yeah. And one of the girls who wasn't on the trip with us, but who joined, like who met with him, she just like went home on some guy's boat that.
Yes. I remember being worried about her.
Yeah. She's like, yeah, he just like gave me a ride back on his boat in the morning. I'm like, that's crazy.
But see, that's a good story. I mean,
It's
if
a
you
good
didn't
story.
get murdered,
That was a
that's great.
beautiful Airbnb we all stayed in. You remember?
I think so. I just followed the pack. Like I feel like you guys all. I think you said this before. Like you just booked a vacation, then everyone else just followed you.
Yeah.
I think it was that. I think I like shared the couch with someone.
Yeah,
I was
me
like,
and
thank you for letting me be here.
There was like, I want to say there was like 4 or 5 of us on like a pull-out couch.
So now, I'm like, oh, Italy, beautiful. But now our lives are boring and we're not in Italy. And how do you feel about that?
I mean, that's a good question. And I think about that not
As much as the Roman Empire?
I mean, probably more.
Okay.
Not specifically like, oh, this isn't Italy, but I've definitely like going through the like whole, which I think it's like, I think it's normal, especially for like when you turn 30, where you're just like, is this what life is?
How old are you?
31.
Okay.
I just turned 31 a month ago.
Did I say happy birthday? Was that before I last saw you or after I last?
It was right before we.
Oh, okay. So I
reconnected.
missed it. So I didn't like re-miss it. I missed it previously. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
Happy
yeah,
birthday.
yeah.
Great.
But yeah, like where you're just like, man, like is this what life consists of? Like go to work, go to the gym, maybe like, you do a couple social outings a week if you're lucky, usually less than that. And you're just like, what is all this? But that's something I'm working on a lot right now, is trying to just be like, just enjoy some stability and like enjoy that life isn't like hectic and crazy, because it can get so much like worse the other way, where you're like, I just wish things would calm down. So I'm trying to enjoy that it's more calm for me at this exact moment.
And that's the thing. Like I feel like my whole life I've been like, yeah, I'm just waiting for it to calm down. I'm just waiting for this next thing to be done, and then things will be fine. And then things just never stopped. And so now I'm trying to be like, is there a way I can vibe with the chaos and just, okay, the small moment of peace while I'm driving to the next place? Or I don't know. But it's like, yeah, whether it's, your life is more calm or it's chaotic, it just feels like, okay, how do we live in the moment, or how do we accept this pace of life for like how it is right now, or find the calm in the whatever?
When
I don't know.
it's just funny the way like, life can just like really spotlight something, and like, like as like recently went through a breakup. Like,
I didn't know if you wanted to talk about it or not. I also forgot about
maybe
it.
we should save it for the pet mental health podcast. I don't know. But I mean, I guess like, the thing for me is, before we broke up, I was definitely going through that, like that sort of like inner conflict of like, are we stagnating? Like, like, is this what life is? Like, we watch Netflix, like, we kiss and go to bed. And not it, like for me, it wasn't like going like, oh, I'm not satisfied with this, but it was going like, is this like all there is?
Yeah, is this it?
Is this it?
Like we made it. This is it forever now. Like,
yeah, and you're kind of like, man, I'm like, at least for me, it was like, oh, I'm done dating. Like, it's like I'm not gonna like have a crazy passionate first kiss again. And and again, for me, it wasn't so much of like, oh, I wish I was gonna have that.
Yeah. No, I get that though. I get that. Like, I'm very happily in a relationship, but it's still that you're not gonna have those. Yeah, you're not gonna have those experiences anymore.
And now all of a sudden, all these prospects have opened back up, and it's like I am longing for that relationship and what it meant like so much. Like, where you're going like, I don't want to date again. Like I was happy. Like I was good. Like that, like I had succeeded. Like I'd won that game. Like that's the point of dating, right? Is like to get to that place.
Yeah, you did the dating thing, great, found it, check, next.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, that part of your life is at least secure. It's
Yeah.
done. Like,
Yeah. So it's like, it's funny the way the universe does that, where you go like, oh, do I need to shake things up? And then it shakes things up for you. And you're like, God, like, why? Why did we need to shake things up?
so do you? So you had the stability, and then you're like, okay, you question the stability, and then things change. And is there ever going to be this point where we're like, everything's fine, and I'm very happy, and that's it, I've made it, and now I checked off all the boxes, the partner, the child, the house, the career, the blah, 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 blah. We're done. Now now I have time to just be happy.
Yeah. And I mean, for like, I think the short answer is like, no, you don't ever
Yeah.
feel that way. But also, I think like for me, something I'm working on is like finding the balance between like drive and ambition while also like, I don't always need to be striving for that next step, regardless of what sphere of my life it is. Like,
Yeah.
like I can be ambitious with work and want to continue to do more or move up or whatever without it being like my whole self-worth is in that next promotion or like,
Yeah.
the bigger paycheck. And I think it's the same with like relationships and stuff. It's like, I think you can always strive to be better and like, have a healthier relationship. Like, I don't think that work's ever done.
Totally.
But you also don't need to be like consistently in a space of like, this isn't enough for me, or it needs to be more, or it needs to be something else. So for me, that's like where I'm at right now, is trying to figure that out of like, that feeling of like, oh, this isn't exactly what it's supposed to be. But in a way that's not like I'm always stuck in like, the next gear trying to get to the next place.
Even you said like supposed to be. Supposed to be what? Is that just what we're fed in like the media and movies, or what our parents have done, or previous generations? We're like, okay, I guess that's the path. That's what we're supposed to be doing, and I guess I should like follow that. Um, I don't know, Keenan. And I even like you talking about, your career, and like you tie your self-worth to that, and that resonates with me because I feel like I've always had low self-esteem. Like, okay, I need to accomplish something in order to have worth. I need to do something meaningful. And even now, I'm like, okay, I'm so evolved. I'm like, happy. Well, not happy, but like, I'm working on my mental health and like breaking down all these constructs of what I think I should be. But yeah, I still feel so tied to like, if I don't create something meaningful in the world, if I don't contribute somehow, then like what's the point? Then I'm useless. I have no use. So I still feel very stuck in like, okay, my business has to work, or this platform I'm building has to work. I have to do something, and then I can have my identity. I found my place in the world. This is where I belong now. I can finally, yeah, identify with something myself instead of just, the whole Italy thing. I'm still doing that. I'm still just like floating, showing up like, hey, mental health space. Hey, friends. I'm just like, I don't have anything like solid. Like, oh yeah, this is Rafaela. This is what she's doing. Boom. It's like I think there's this part of me that I'm like, I still feel useless and shitty and all those things we're told as children, that I'm trying to make up for it in other ways, and that sucks. Do you feel like you're still on that?
I mean, it's like, yeah, like, I do feel that way, but again, it's like I'm trying to find, like just career wise, to talk about that, where it's like I've really realized that like wanting to find your space and like carve it out and be like, I'm contributing, like that's not a bad thing. Like that doesn't need to be toxic, right? So because I kind of been, I tried out something, new career wise. And I enjoyed it. But it really like reinforced like how much I value like, the work that I was doing and am like, back to doing.
Yeah.
And like that's a positive. Like to say like, I do get a lot of my value and self-worth like out of my career. But I'm trying to like appreciate that for what it is. It's like I found something I'm really passionate about, something that I like believe in really strongly.
Carpet cleaning.
Just
Just so everyone
so
knows.
everybody knows.
Yeah, carpet cleaning. Keep going.
It's like so that to me is like still a positive. I'm trying not to have like all of my self-worth there. And I'm trying not to be like I have to solve like all of the world's problems for it to have value or meaning. It's like when I look at you, you're doing so much like with the space that you have, whether it's like, the podcasting space or just like, again, like you took that bubble of Italy where you created like that safe space of vulnerability and you're like sharing with everybody.
Aw, that's really sweet of you to say.
So like it's true. Like I'm trying to find a way of saying like you provide a lot of value without it being like, and you have to provide value.
Yeah, like here it is, and good. I'm validating you in that. No, but I do appreciate that, and yeah, maybe it is a journey of figuring out. Okay, how can I be content, or at least I don't say content. It's like not happy, but like yeah, content
Well,
maybe of like with not knowing if I fit in or I not knowing if I fix the world,
Yeah.
but by just being a human who's alive, and that's it. Like that's really it. That's the whole goal, is just to be alive. And like, okay, great, check.
when it's, my therapist is funny sometimes because it's like, she like, I'll be like, I want to do all these things. And it's like, oh, is that all? Like, because, but she
Yeah.
just said, it's like, if you talk to like a Buddhist, like, if you want to be content, like there's no secret. You just be content.
Mhm.
And you're like, that's wholly unhelpful. Like,
Thanks for nothing, Buddha.
yeah, but it's like, it's a practice. It's like a thing you do every day. Like I have this stupid little app on my phone where I tell my duck how my day was and I pet her little head. And it's like, it's such a small, goofy thing that it's like everybody tells you that those things work. And you're like, I believe you, but I'm not doing it anyway. And then I started
Yeah.
doing it. And it was like, I look, it's like it prompts me with a notification on my phone that I can't ignore to pick out something good in my day. And it's like, I'm not like miraculously healed where I'm like, oh, I'm happy all the time now. But it's like,
But maybe that's not the goal
Yeah.
either.
well,
Maybe
and
that's something.
again, like maybe deeper mental health episode, but it's like on the feeling wheel, you have like 5 feelings and happy is one of 5.
Mhm.
So if you spend 20% of your day happy, that's like really solid. Like that's what my therapist told me, right? Like it's like
Yeah.
that's really good. And when you like look at it like that, you're like, "Oh, like maybe I'm not doing as bad as I thought." As long as
Mhm.
I can recognize that 20% or strive for 20%, like life is not going to be stress-free ever. The people who reach enlightenment sit in a garden for 18 hours a day. We don't have that option.
I mean, you could. It'd just be a lot harder.
I'd be so hungry.
You'd be so hungry and
And
cold.
cold.
Because we're in Edmonton. But I love that. And okay, if we can strive for that 20%, or maybe you have to start with 5.
Just
10.
recognize the one good moment
Yeah.
where I'm like, I'm going to go home and be like, I talked to Rafaela today and that was great. Like, and that was, when we went for breakfast, it was like, that was such a great day of us basically just doing this,
Yeah, literally. Like 4 hours, I swear.
and it's like, I love that, like, it's like, that's a great thing. So I'm going to recognize that, and make sure we do it again. And I'm like, okay, I won that day.
Oh, I
You know.
love that. And I'm so grateful for you, Keenan. And I don't let a lot of people like in. I kind of keep people a little bit of like a, I don't know. like a funny distance. Like I block myself with humor and, whatever. So I appreciate that you're someone I can let in and be goofy, but also be really like sincere and honest with. And yeah, I'm just grateful to have you in my life, even though we haven't talked in like a few years because you ghosted me for a few years. But I'm still like, no, I love you. And you're one of my best friends. And that's it.
And I love that you're like that because I'm like that too. Like, it's like I ghosted kind of everybody, for a lot of those years because it was just like I was just mentally drained. I had no capacity for like friendship in a lot of ways, honestly. And it's like I got, buddies who it's like I got one buddy, it's like we talk every day now after like we didn't talk for like 6 years. And you just randomly catch up and it's like I'm going to his wedding next year in Mexico, and you're like, I love it, I actually had a friend and his wife, they're both, wonderful people. And she was like kind of giving him crap that she was like, well, did you text Keenan? And he's like, no, like not recently. And I was like, yeah, we don't need to do that. Like, that's not like, I don't need to check in weekly. I definitely don't want to talk to you every day. What are we going to talk about?
Yeah, like finding the people that you're like, you're good, I'm good, we're going to go live our lives. See you in a year. But when you connect, it's like nothing changed.
Exactly.
Like even, seeing you for the first time in, 3, 4
Probably longer
years.
now.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
And it was just like, no, this is the same. I still have the same comfort levels. And even this is like the second time I've seen you in that amount of years. And you're like, yeah, let's do a podcast. And grateful for you. And you're staying in my life. You can't get out. Sorry. And I want to do another mental health episode one so we can we'll have to have like tissues and cry because if you're into it,
I'm into it. I'm into it.
Because we talk about mental health, but we don't like talk about mental health.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I appreciate about you is you're like, yeah, let's fucking talk about it.
Yeah, it's I'm like mental health, like go to therapy, talk about going to therapy, talk about what you learn in therapy.
Yeah, share the knowledge.
Share it. It's like, yeah, I love it. It's a work in progress all the time, but
that'll be the next episode on the other podcast. Thank you, Keenan, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I love you so much.
I love you so much.